Good evening. So what we've got ahead of us over this week and next is 2 hours for me to try and deliver the digitization of the preclinical patient journey, all right? Which is a technical way of saying everything that happens to them to get them into the practice and before treatment starts. So that's treatment planning, that's communication, all of that stuff. And normally, and some of my I have a course, 2-hour webinar course. We'll get the plug in quickly because it matters. And this content normally takes me 6 hours to deliver. And we're going to attempt to get the bones of it out in 2. That doesn't mean I'm just going to speak 3 times as quickly. I'm going to try for that not to happen. We're just going to skim over some stuff and expect there to be the need for further expansion on certain bits, and whether that happens through you contacting me through email or text, or whether it's a case of you requesting other bits of info to be expanded on, whatever. So we're going to do a flyby of everything digital. So before I begin, I want to, many times when I talk about the concepts and processes we use, I like for us to remember the analog counterpart. So if we're talking about a scanner, I still sometimes like to refer back to what that used to be like, in the same way that us of a certain age will like to sort of hark back to the old-fashioned, whether it be an audio cassette or a CD. It's important for people to understand where things came from. So the console, as I depict it now, used to be a man in a white coat, a lady in a white coat, spending an hour with a patient and then sending them a report. And that's kind of the pre and postgraduate way we were taught to do that at a high level. Lots of gathering of data, a very much an information gathering process, and then an information sending process, often in a kind of unidirectional way. Not a lot of dialogue with the patient as to, treatment options may have been covered as to risks and benefits, but it wasn't a dialogue. It wasn't a conversation. It's here's your report, here are the costs, here's the risks and benefits, yes or no. And so very early on, even before digital came about, I was like, that can't be right. That can't be the best way we can do this. And so I just wanted us to remember the old-fashioned way of doing it and how this is nothing like it, although the ingredients of that process will all still be there. All right. So I'm going to start by showing you the mind-blowing concept of the digital consultation. I'm going to talk about 2 main tools throughout this that are digital, but many others will be touched upon, and they are the intraoral scanner and the digital iPhone. All right. And how the camera on the iPhone and the communication available helps us connect in patients in different ways. Skip that. Bit of an intro into digital. So why bother? There are people who are in this call who already have gone digital and have got a scanner and are doing some of the stuff I'm doing, and there are some that don't. And the reason the ones that don't is because they're worried about whether it's going to work. Well, the answer is digital always wins every single time, because it makes things more efficient and deletes waste, increases communication, and a whole bunch of other stuffs. So just a quick run through of what happened when the iPhone got invented. Okay, emails became more prevalent from your pocket and we stopped doing mail. It's a phone, it's a camera, it's my wallet. I don't take my wallet anywhere anymore. I don't take money. I don't have an alarm clock, etc. All right. And the high street started to get deleted, and COVID's now finished the job off for us. So that was just one invention. And waste, no need for paper, no need for storage, no need for shredding. So just think what the intraoral scanner can do, and I'll show you in a mo. So when we look at adoption curves, before it was about when should we jump in. What I'm saying to you now is the longer you leave it, the only thing you're risking is being the last guy to the party, okay? Tesla's currently deleting petrol. The oil industry will collapse and we won't have to drive anywhere anymore. Okay. So the point is, it's not, digital has history at always winning. All right. It's inevitable. It's obvious. So if you are on a fence, get off that fence and realize that any investment you make will always be repaid in the time efficiencies and other things that will be brought to your practice. Okay. So you're either reaping the benefits first or last. So that's the first thing. I won't go over this table, but I've kind of covered it. So when the intraoral scanner was invented, people thought it was doing away with stone models. and impressions. And I'm going to talk nothing about those things and about things far more powerful than that. But while we're on the subject, and having been in digital for 6 years, it also does away with the retraction cord, with articulators, with face bows, and with wasted time and money, and the rule book. Okay, as an innovator, as someone who likes to think long and hard about whether the processes we're doing are the most efficient, I loved the fact that when digital came around, I could throw away the rule book. The rule book that said what a prep shape had to be, all of these little things that we'd been taught were almost gospel. I like the fact that because we were using new methodologies in capturing data and in creating restorations, that rule book could go out the window and we could develop our own. And that's what I've been doing. So enough about actual clinical dentistry. Let's have a look at what the scanner achieved in my practice in the consultation setting. Okay, so when we got our first iTero, and we've had many scanners, but it was when we got our first iTero and started using it in consults, we saw a 33% growth in 12 months. Okay, to put that in context, at the same time, the UK GDP probably increased by 1.82%. All right, and obviously out there are bigger and more renowned companies than me in the courtyard. So something weird was happening at our practice, and it was the scanner that was it. Another stat, just for the record, is that over the 5 years we worked with digital, we managed to double our revenue, and I believe digital had a massive part in that. So that's why I urge you not to be hung up upon the monthly cost of a scanner. And if you're an associate, and I believe most of you are, there is a growing trend of associates to take ownership of their own career, of their own progression, and invest in a scanner that is theirs and theirs alone. It's just a normal Friday at the courtyard. The picture we hope to paint is how the digital tech we have literally acts like a seam through all of our treatments, how it's helpful to inform patients on different options, so that they don't just have to imagine an outcome, but they see it on screen. And then they can have real consent about which direction they choose to go.
My name is Eve. I will be seeing a new patient, Ashley, today for her initial consultation.
I'd like to change the shape of some of my teeth and get them a bit whiter.
And we're going to take some digital scans and we're just going to have a look at her teeth together and come up with some solutions to improve her smile.
And really what we're trying to show is how easy digital makes what we do, how efficient it makes us. If you do not keep up with this technology as a dentist, then you're leaving your patients in a worse position, and you're probably leaving yourself in a worse position. So if we just look at this particular site here, now the digital design is going to help guide our treatment. The amount of gum line that we need to increase to get these teeth over. Black and white words are no longer enough to record that you gave patient options, because how could they visualize those options? How could they know what they were going to look like and how you were going to deliver it? We tried once when we first built our digital lab to be only digital and not have any humans, and could we just mill a final veneer and place it, and we found we couldn't. So no, we need Bernard. He's got 35 years of experience of layering, pure artistry onto digital design, so that you get that perfect blend. You replicate what the patients approved, but then you add a finish that's bespoke.
Yeah, it's mixing the new technology in many respects with the old. It's always evolving, and you have to go with the changes. But digital is certainly the way forward. I mean, for the dentists, it's great because they're only taking scans and not having to take impressions like they used to in the olden days.
Just think of the data that we're taking here that's over and above that which an impression can take. So, as well as the increased accuracy, we're effectively filming every key step of the dental process as a record. At the centre of it all is a person who's got a backstory, who's got a reason they're here in the first place, and that I hope will come part of the picture, and that you see the impact that all of these things has on the individual.
I was really conscious of how my teeth looked. And my partner had had his done here and they're absolutely wonderful. So he retired and I got mine done.
Can you see how we've opened up the bite? So on the before, had this really deep bite. I didn't see any of the lower teeth whatsoever.
I absolutely love them. But I have to learn how to smile properly now. Love them.
Everyone asks, is digital the future? No, it's not. It's the present. It's not something that's coming. It's not something that's yet to be invented. It's already here. It's in that corner. And we live and breathe it in every aspect of treatment we do. So if you're not currently doing it, then you're being left behind. You're being left in the past. So, newsflash, we live in a visual world, okay? Whether it's Netflix, whether it's Instagram, whether it's a phone. So it's therefore no surprise that the more we can engage visuals in our communication techniques, the more successful we're going to be. Even saying these words sounds like I'm saying the obvious, but yet, as ever, in dentistry, we're sometimes a little slow to notice the obvious. We're slow to notice what every other industry is doing. We're slow to adopt new technologies, even though they're there. So we live in a visual world, all right? For over 200 years, we have seen teeth one at a time in the reflection of a dental mirror. Now, for the first time, we see the dental system as a whole. Okay, it gives us a new perspective. That's my father-in-law's teeth, and I can show them to him very clearly now. If you hold a face mirror up, people can only see the front things. They can't see back teeth. So when we started using this in consults to talk about back teeth, it was incredibly profound. The touchscreen interface allows us to demonstrate our observations to the patient in a way they understand. For the first time, they see their own problems in colour on screen. There is no hiding from it. In addition, there is no reliance on trusting the dentist. They trust what they see. So for nearly 200 years, we've been trying to learn how to get patients on board to trust us, because often we're talking about things they can't see. Sometimes they can't feel them. We're trying to get them to understand what a radiograph looks like. If you show them colour images that are their own teeth, it does the work for you. So it's a simple case. There's a couple of early lesions, mesial cavity, some calc. Treatment plan here might be 300-400 quid, who knows, not an awful lot, but the patient gets it right away. They're saying, what's that stuff? Why is that hole there? And why is that thing brown? Once again, you're not having to get them to understand a radiograph in black and white when they can see their own problems in colour. So that looks like that might be something that would work in the communication of problems to a patient. So we gave it a whirl. So the first scenario was me carrying out consults with the scanner and learning how to use it and describe things. That was our setup. Our clinic has always tried to sort of embrace, clinical and something that's a bit comforting. The sofa, unfortunately, is not there anymore because of COVID. How sad. But because I used to say a line that the most important piece of equipment in that room was the sofa. But in our other consultation suite, you'll see soon, when no AGPs happen, we have a sofa. So yeah, you want to have, it's about designing a space that works for its intention. We've often tried to have consults in a dental surgery. It's probably not designed for that. You know what I mean? It doesn't make patients feel the way they want to feel. So when you see our consultation suite, you go, well, what does it need to have? Well, it needs to have a sofa, it needs to have a scanner, it needs to have somewhere where you can have a chat. But that's where I started. So we've got the CBCT there, we've got the scanner, we've got a surgery that looks relaxing as well. And we're able to have these conversations. And live, I would treatment plan and present things. And it's a dialogue, not a monologue. Okay, so what bothers, I'll ask them obviously to invite what bothers them about their teeth. In that image you can see quite a lot, and like I say, back teeth you'll see come into play. So this patient came on literally within our first couple of weeks of treatment, and she came in and said, I need some new veneers. And if we were just treatment planning her with a handheld face mirror, that might look like what all she needs, but she's got no back teeth. Okay, and you know, what will happen when you meet patients like this is they're trying to hide that from everybody. And I mean, even from herself, you know, she'll smile in a way that doesn't demonstrate that, because she wants to forget that she doesn't have back teeth. And when we see these and then we start treatment planning the case, you know, it becomes a very obvious treatment plan. And if she doesn't want plastic teeth, which she did not, then we're looking at a full arch implant case for her. The lowers, a little bit tired, a little bit worn, big bruxist. And if we're going to make the top ones white, then there are only a certain number of ways that we can make the lower ones white. And that's with some porcelain. So they stayed, but we refreshed them. So this treatment plan kind of writes itself when the scans are on screen. And then we got this fellow who came in, and he said to me, could I fix his broken tooth? And he meant that one at the front. But obviously when we showed him the scans, it became evident he had more problems than that. And so we went on to treatment plan him with a blend of restorative and implant, and that's what he looked like when we finished him. Now these scans, and it's outside of the remit for today, and we'll maybe look at some next week, but these scans go off to have digital designs done by my lab. It's the start point for everything. So yes, it's a consultation tool, but it's the trigger point for everything that follows. And if this chap had told me that all he wanted was a bit of whitening, then we would have used those scans to make him some whitening trays. If this chap would have said to me he wanted to have some Invisalign, then I would use the scans to make him some Invisalign trays, okay? So the scans are the start point for everything. And therein lies a lot of the efficiencies I'm talking about. If you have a set workflow that works for literally everybody, that you can put them into the start of that machine and they'll come out at the end of that machine with whatever it was that consultation decided for them, then you can see the power of this stuff. So we found it worked, okay? We found that more people said yes to stuff because when they saw their teeth broken and orange on screen, they wanted to do something about it. And we found that patients accepted more complex treatment plans. I used to find it so difficult to get patients to buy back teeth because they'd say, it doesn't bother me, I just want these ones doing, you know. But on a scan, when they can visualize the problems and then when they can understand them, so you say, we need to give you back teeth because otherwise you're going to smash your front teeth, or whatever the argument is, then they buy into that argument and that rationale. So more people said yes to more comprehensive treatment plans as well. So that worked very well, and we went, well, that's amazing. So we'll keep doing that. And then what happened was we'd run out of space in the practice. So we had a member of staff I wanted to retain. And at that time, I was doing 2 full days of consults. And not everybody said yes. More people said yes, but some people still said no. And I'm going to tell you why they said no. So what we did then is we said, well, maybe a treatment coordinator can have these conversations with a patient. And I had the confidence and the trust to give every single one of the consults in my practice to my treatment coordination team and a scanner to carry out to see before me. And we did an experiment, and if it had gone wrong, we wouldn't be here now. Maybe, no. But I wouldn't be teaching you about it. But I'm going to tell you how it worked. So consult scenario number 2, treatment coordinator scanning at a consult. All right. So here's our TCO suite. Getting a few more evolutions at the minute, actually, but it's a room too small to be a surgery. So it was always a place where it was just where consults and chats and a bit of office stuff happened. But it's very cosy and patients love it. And it has a scanner and it's got a little reclining chair which costs 500 quid. And it does the job that you need to in a digital consult. So we have a 3-stage process for our consults. The preclinical consult, where patients see the treatment coordinator. The definitive treatment planning appointment, where they see me, only if they said that they want one of the options presented to them and they can afford it. And thirdly, we have treatment commence, which is effectively the consent gateway, okay? And they can only go through onto treatment if those 3 things happen. That creates a fantastically robust treatment planning process. The clinical records for it are very robust, and it does something which Your Honour likes to see, that the patient had time to consider things before they ultimately made a decision. So as alluded to, the important thing that happens at the preclinical consult is that no dentist is allowed. Not at all. Not even to say hi, not even for a handshake, because we don't want to blur the lines here, okay? This is preclinical. All that's happening is treatment options, not treatment planning, and the patient learns about different treatments while looking at their scans and can ask questions, okay? And at that appointment, what typically happens is the patient will settle on one of those treatment options and wants to know some costs for that. And they're then given some of those costs, and therefore we get 2 yeses, which are yes, the patient wishes one of the treatment options, and yes, the patient is comfortable with the cost. And if that happens, then they're booked with me for the next appointment. It is not uncommon that finances are run at this appointment, or that some financial commitment is made that shows the patient's comfortable. So then they see me for the definitive treatment planning, where the clinical aspects are added to the consult process. Okay, so we already have the scans, we already know what kind of treatment we're heading towards. I then do a clinical exam, take some radiographs, and do that bit. Okay, now the important part of that, or the added benefit of that, is if you go back to the analog counterpart of doing this, where you have a big juicy consult with the dentist right away, and then they write up and take loads of radiographs. Often is the case that where a patient has already kind of decided no, okay, or oftentimes, or even not, and you have to write a massive report, massive consult notes for a thing that's never ever going to happen, okay? So I argue that that's kind of in the wrong order, and you should refrain from doing the more complex part of the consult until the patient is further down that pathway. So what we see here is that at the definitive treatment plan, costs are, the written estimate is completed, costs are confirmed, and it can be different to what's been discussed previously because this is the first time they're seeing a dentist and they're made aware of that, and it's obvious. So a written estimate is produced, and we get almost 100% conversion since we implemented this for obvious reasons, because we've effectively vetted out those who couldn't afford or didn't want. And prior to this, sometimes, it's not uncommon for a dentist or a clinical lead to think that they are responsible for the magic thing that happens in a consult, all right? And it's the way they present things and the way they say things that makes it happen. I'm sure I was guilty of that before this experiment, okay? But the beautiful thing is that it isn't magic, okay? It is just a process. And if a patient doesn't want a thing, you're not going to change that fact. And if they do, if they can't afford it, you're also not going to change that fact, okay? So handing all of our consults to our treatment coordinators in this way proved that it is just a process. And if you have good tools for that process, then you should get good outcomes. So the next part of the process is the treatment commence, which is, as I stated, a gateway, all right? And the important thing about that is if you still at your practice carry out maybe, let's use the word ad hoc without it being too offensive, ad hoc consults and ad hoc treatment planning, then it becomes the responsibility of that dentist to remember to get all the consent together and scan it and make sure it's all in there. And that keeps me awake at night, or did keep me awake at night. And it's another job that you've got to do aside from all the other jobs you're trying to do to the best of your capability. So if you can hand over this gateway to someone else, a consent champion, and it is made aware in the practice that nothing gets booked until consent is obtained, then you can sleep more soundly, okay? And that's what we did at our practice. So consent pack, finances are settled, pre-op photo series, and then appointments are scheduled. So all of those things being batched together just means that after that, it is done. And the associate, the dentist, can focus on what they want to, which is just the treatment for that patient. Okay? So what you've seen here is a deconstructed consultation. It has all of the ingredients that were ever in the come see me for an hour and I will send you a report version, okay? Or whatever version it is you currently carry out. It has some clinical data, it has some conversations, it has some consent, it has some risks and benefits, it has some finances being settled, but they're done in an order that makes logical sense and keeps your time at its most efficient. Which is one of the reasons I'm here as well, because there is what we're experiencing at our practice is a rare situation where you've got high demand and a reduced capacity to deliver it. So there is a greater focus on this process. And what I call this process is validation, okay? That you're validating your patients before they see a clinician. And in one way or another, and in next week, and we will do this virtual version as well, but it's how much triage can you do to discern that the patient means business, okay? And how much options can you deliver before they ever come to your practice to make sure that they are in the right place, want one of your treatments and can afford it. So that's the underpinning concept to all of this, okay? And I would hope and I would expect that whatever version of this you implement at your practice will be a bit different because you've got different rooms and different bricks and different number of scanners and different staff, okay? But the underpinning concept you're trying to bring through this is to keep your clinical time efficient and get patients validated before they see the dentist. I'm going to take a breath of fresh air there because I haven't breathed for 15 minutes, and just see if there's any Q&A at that point before we move on.
Okay, so if anybody's got any questions, by all means type them into the chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, please go ahead and do so. I can't see all the video screens whilst we're screen sharing, but if you do need to unmute, do so. Alternatively, any questions, just type away in the chat box. And let's remember the house rule here. There we are. Jessica is asking, hi Marcus, how long do you book for these appointments, please?
So it's an hour with the treatment coordinator, and then I have an hour after. So yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Any more questions from anybody? Steph is asking, do you charge for the TCO appointment, Marcus?
No, we don't. I'm smiling because the questions always come out in the same order, and this is that order. So, but no. So, but what we do is we ask for a £50 commitment fee. So we believe in the concept of free expert advice. Not everybody does, but I tell you who does believe in that concept. Patients believe in that concept, okay? So they love the idea of getting information from experts and not having to pay for it. And it has always jarred with them if they have to pay for it. But we take a £50 commitment fee to confirm that they attend, and we do that across the board, and it gets given back to them at attendance, and that's enough for them to see their treatment coordinator. When they see me, we don't take a deposit either, but normally finances have been sort of confirmed in one way or another. They've either run finance and they've expressed enough interest that I know that they mean business.
Okay, a non-question, how do you train your TCO to give appropriate treatment options in the initial consult in line with what you would suggest?
Another fantastic question. So general tips on that. You know, I would champion a TCO from within your own practice. Find the nurse who's confident. Find the nurse who never shuts up. Find the member of your team who's really confident and puts patients at ease as well. And then start on easy things, okay? So I'm about to focus some of this training in the webinar on the INVISALIGN product. And if you think about having a TCO that was solely involved in, in doing consults for INVISALIGN, it's pretty easy, okay? Someone comes in with crooked teeth, they've already said they want INVISALIGN, the treatment coordinator is talking about those things. So that's how you train them, baby steps, okay? Get them comfortable with that. And it's about triage as well. Patients don't come in not knowing what they want, okay? You know, there's this assumption that a patient's going to come in with a very random problem, and I found that not to be the case. A patient comes in with missing teeth, wanting some implants. A patient comes in with crooked teeth, wanting some INVISALIGN, etc. Okay, so with the triage, through the inquiry, you'll be able to put that patient with the right person. And what I'm saying is, if your treatment coordinator is at a early level of her training, then do it sensibly and give her things that are going to go well to begin with.
Lovely. Katie asked, Marcus, where did you get the reclining chair in the TCO room from?
Oh, I don't know, but I'll find out. But I'm sure someone just Googled. It's just like a beautician one, so go onto some of those websites that probably sell beautician stuff. And it was one from one of those kind of places. It's just got a foot pedal that reclines it and sits it back, and it's adequate.
Okie doke, thanks. I might drop you a line, Marcus, tomorrow just to see if we can ask the team if they can answer that question. VJ's asking, what's the approximate cost of an iTero scanner?
So depending on what level, but eight you can pick one up for 18 grand. You can pick one up for 20 and change. But ultimately on finance, you're looking at less than 350 a month. Okay, and the point is, what do you think you can do with that 350? And this is just the first example. This is just how to convert more patients at a consult example. As we talk more, I'm going to mention compliance, and you're accidentally taking a color digital record of them every time you see them. And if you're using it for restorative, the same. So there's a myriad of things it will impact on your practice. But that's why this became the most important thing I had to talk about, because it's a much more interesting argument than it'll make you slightly more accurate crowns. Everyone's like, well, yeah, great. But so yes, that value will be borne out in if you use it in this way.
All right. If I can use an old terminology, the $64,000 question in from Louise, how do you suggest associates implement this model when they're not in control of their own business?
Yeah, well, I think I touched on it earlier, and you aren't in control of your own business, but you can get yourself an iTero, you can get yourself a portable, or you can get yourself one that's got a stand. If whatever if you're seeing patients and you think this is a tool that can help control the kind of treatments that you're able to offer, then obviously, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to do that. You got to take some reins, and no one will ever, no principal will ever stop you from buying your own piece of equipment like this, I would hazard. So that's my obvious answer. Would you agree, Chris?
Thank you. Paraphrasing a question from Tristan, some people would say that it's overkill for patients who may be relatively stable. What's your observation on
that? Well, what overkill? Just scanning people who are... Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Yeah, well, that isn't really what we're talking about at this level. We're talking about using this to communicate treatment options better to patients who have come in requesting treatment options. So,
can I just chuck one in on that? Which, if I may do, Marcus, because there's a mantra that is developing amongst the iTero and 3Shape users that I deal with, and the mantra is scan everybody every time.
Yeah.
And even when you're doing a routine dental health review, scan.
Yeah.
And there are two reasons for that. One of them is because you're able to engage the patient in a conversation, as Marcus has already said, which is more meaningful to the patient. And the other one is that patient has got family, friends and colleagues and is on average connected to 150 people via social media, and may well be talking in a socially distanced environment about the fact that they had an incredible experience at the dentist the other day, because rather than the dentist just peering inside the mouth and saying, you need a crown on that tooth, they had this incredible audio-visual experience. And so actually the scanner is a device that's going to generate referrals as well, even for a stable patient.
You're entirely right. But this is why this is the easy win. When we were still trialing the iTero for 2 weeks, and 2 patients who'd never heard of Invisalign, and we scanned them and showed them the outcome, asked could they buy the treatment, and actually got her wallet out, which is a story many of you heard before. But she actually got her wallet out in the dental chair and said, "Can I have that now, please? Where do I pay?" So.
Sorry, private question. Are you a fully private or mixed practice, just so that we know how your first point of contact differs from ours?
Great question. We are fully private. We were once NHS, if we ever get to hear my history. But what is interesting, and what I want to say to all of you out there, every single patient that you're seeing on here, every single bit of the revenue that we do these complex cases is an NHS patient. They're not an NHS patient in my practice. They're an NHS patient at somebody else's practice. And I think that is impactful. Would you not agree?
Very interesting point. Question from Eva. It's so nice to hear from you. Do you do the PCC at the same time as the DTP and the RXC?
No, they're on different days. There's usually sort of a week lead time between them. And again, once you understand the ingredients of all of those, you can move, you can do your dental photography in the DTP if you'd like. You could do, if you get smart enough and you want to do digital consent via email, you could do that. But as long as it's, a robust pathway that that all the ingredients are best done in that order, then the way you chop it up is up to you.
Phil is asking, are there often big differences between treatment plans by the TCO and your plans?
No, not usually, and that segs me neatly into this next part, Chris.
All right, I'll pick up the rest of the questions because we will have another Q&A before we finish.
Indeed. So, because you've now got colour pictures of everything, it allows you to do something called digital case conference, which sounds very high tech, and I love name dropping it to patients. But truly, so when we started this and tried to hone everybody's skills, we'd meet at lunch once a week with sandwiches. The sandwiches are essential, otherwise no one attends. And we'd have a look at the scans. So, my treatment coordinators would have the list of patients they saw, and they say, this one's this, and I talked about Invisalign Complete. Is that right? Yeah, that's fine. This one's this. We talked about bonding. Okay, so we'd have these, and it's a little 360-degree feedback loop. And if there was an instance where I went, maybe tell the patient it's gonna, we might need to involve this one as well, then they can email or WhatsApp or text. So once again, it expands on the fact that it is a dialogue, okay? It's a back and forth and to and fro, which continues when they see me. So it's just the start of a conversation. The aim of this game is not for the treatment coordinator to deliver a treatment plan that does not vary from what you're going to, because they're not doing that. It's just the start of options and learning. Many patients have not heard of all of the treatments they're going to be talked about. So that's why that time lag is great. And one of my phrases when I see the patients at the DTP is I just say we're going to continue the conversation because that's what we're doing. But yeah, digital case conferencing, great place to help your treatment coordinators learn because they'll learn more about how you would treatment plan, and therefore they'll get closer to the right answer at that first visit. So what you're finding is we've now created a digital patient almost. And now, in a final weird thing, I'm now digital charting my patients before they attend for the DTP. So there's one less thing I actually have to do in person. So I can get the teeth big on, really large on screen in colour, so why wouldn't I? So digital charting, if once we've taken the CBCT and the scans, you barely require patient attendance. I have a specialist endodontist who now looks at the scans and the CBCT that we've taken, and that's all he needs to do to treatment plan. So more and more can be discussed and determined by non-clinical team members, thereby increasing your efficiency. Boom! So what this experiment showed was that if I had the trust to put my consults in the hands of others with a little bit of digital tech, we could delete me. So my consult days reduced by a day, and I could have that day off. We deleted me. Because we found that anyone saying no said so before they saw a dentist. Isn't that a wonderful thing to happen? So I get these things called PCC reports. So I'll get this little list of patients from my treatment coordinators that says this one's had finance done, she's happy, this one's dropped a deposit, this one did finance and it was declined, or this one didn't want something, okay? And sometimes there'll be a big list of no's, and my treatment coordinator will be very disappointed, and I'll be really pleased because I'm like, well, I'd rather it happen to you than me, because otherwise we'd have wasted my clinical time. You and me would still be writing up their goodness sakes consult notes right now, so now we don't have to do that. So you have no control over the ones that are going to say no, and you have no control over those that can't finance the treatment that they'd like to have. So that should happen before they see a dentist. So this workflow has halved my consult days. It's allowed me to spend that day with my baby daughter Martha, whilst the same volume of treatment is converted. In our second experiment of this, in our second month revenue, the revenue was 184,000, so we decided to carry on with it. And I did that instead. Nearly 2 years ago. So digital dentistry is inevitable. It involves more than waving a scanner about over 20th century dental techniques. It's a complete reimagining of processes, skills and concepts, and that's why I like it. So I'm not going to give you my history, but I'm going to move on to this. Any more questions there? I'm sure there will, or shall I wrap this bit up and then we just tear into it? Yeah, give me 6 more minutes. Give me 6 more minutes.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
And then we'll go straight into that. So the other digital tool that I talk about immensely, which won't cost you £23,000, is an iPhone. All right. So I'm going to show you how impactful that can be in patient communication as well. So that's a photo. It's a photograph, apparently. And you dip it in chemicals and then it gets processed. All right. They don't exist anymore. Newsflash. Okay. We don't have photographs anymore. That's what you took it on, and it used to have film in it made by Kodak. Okay. Many of you in the room will remember Kodak and remember picking up bad photos from the chemist. All right. But unfortunately, Kodak isn't with us anymore, guys, because in 1996 it was worth 31 billion, but in 2012 it went bankrupt, okay? And not because it failed to miss the digital age, like some of us are. Sorry. In fact, it invented the first digital camera in 1975. Instead of marketing this new technology, it held back because it thought it would stop them selling loads of film. They were kind of right. So the photograph as a concept no longer exists. It's about image capture. All right. most of us post-grads will have been told that that's what we need, and then we've gone on to do it, and it's got a lovely box and etc. And I know I did, all right? But the problem was, well, my biggest problem with it was storage of the photos, editing and cropping the photos, having to have a member of staff do that and do it on their, and then it would be in a desktop upstairs in the office. And if I ever wanted to put a case together, it's such an ordeal, you know? So that's a problem with it. But that's the accepted norm. Now, this is the alternative, okay? And I'm going to show you how we use it at our practice, all right? Firstly, we have 10 of them at our practice. So all clinicians have one. All senior, you know, anyone in comms or any of the practice managers, and they're all on the same iCloud account. So what that means is that any photo is across all devices. It means that any patient data, any patient contact data is across all devices. So what that means is that when I pick up my phone, my work phone, here's my work phone, here's my own phone. This one has pictures of my family on it. This one has pictures of patients' teeth on it. That, if you have OCD, is a wonderful thing. And if you're a dentist who has them combined at any time, it just makes you feel horrible. So that's the first benefit of the work phone. But also all our patient contacts there. So let's just say I've done a full arch case and I want to take a picture of the x-ray, send it to the patient, OPG with loads of implants in it. I just WhatsApp it to the patient. And that patient, that's marketing, all right? That patient will be showing off to somebody that they're bionic now. They've got 6 implants, okay? So that's just one example. And if you have the tools ready and you've got something that can take a photo and some data already in your phone, you can send it straight to the patient off a phone that's not your personal phone. You can just start making those connections and giving them tools that they can then use more freely. Before and after photos, obviously, okay? Screenshots of an outcome simulation from INVISALIGN, anything like that, little DSD apps. So the more stuff you can just ping to your patients right away, you're giving them tools to basically put word of mouth on steroids, okay? Instead of it just being, oh, I saw this nice dentist, is, oh, I saw this nice dentist and he sent me this. They're going to save these photos somewhere, okay? So here's how you do it. You buy a smile light from Optident and you strap it to your phone and then you get really cool photos, okay? What other benefits have we got? Albumizing. No more need to go to that desktop in the office and crop because they're all in your phone and you've just saved them in an album called Mrs. Jones's Teeth. Okay, Mrs. Jones's Veneers, all right? And you're cropping them while you're watching Netflix or you're cropping them in fallow time. I don't mind where you crop them, but it just gives you these tools. And this, as a concept for an associate, by the way, is again vast because it gives you the kind of tools to become your own personal brand, which is a very popular and good idea to do. So, you know, taking ownership of your own work in this way and elevating it makes it really easy. So, in a nutshell, if you get one of these phones, it has to have two cameras on the back because it allows it to have a 2x zoom. And yeah, that's the kind of post-production you can do very easily. And then you are albumizing. Any patient names you've seen have consented to them being seen. So these are some apps if you want to take a picture. Go on, makes me feel famous. Just put the torch on and wave it. So these are some apps we use for post-production. Layouts you can do before and after. Airbrush, you can whiten some teeth. Pixelmator, so you can get rid of spit strings. Typorama, so you can put your practice brand on. And Retouch, so that you can create those black backdrops to the teeth without using actual retractors, without using contrasters, sorry. So we'll skip on that.
Right, guys. So I'm just going to show you how to
This is quite
use
cool. We'll play
Pixelmator,
this.
which is what I use to do the black contraster digitally. So the benefit of doing that is that you...
Right, where are we? There, so you draw this little magnetic line, yeah? And then you draw another one, and then watch. Boom. And then you've done it.
with the black, but then I just modify that duplicate, and that's then saved into your photos.
How cool is that? There's an app for everything. So then there's a whitening one, etc. So the point is, you're getting this amazing photography branded to you or your practice. You're getting these tools. You can send them to your patient. And therein lies why we don't have a marketing budget at our practice. You know, because we're taking these steps to carry out the kind of stuff that patients want ourselves. All right, skip that one too. These are cool. Smile View from INVISALIGN lets you do instant, free, inspirational, stuff like that. Okay, so this I will do in my consult as standard when they come in for treatment, and it's the emotional hook that they need. Okay, so whether it's for orthodontic or restorative, the app doesn't care. It will fill gaps. It will make teeth look nice. It takes 40 seconds of your time, and it's a free app. Okay, and what I like is that once we've done that, then I send it to the patient and they're showing other people. I've not even done anything yet, They're marketing me and all I've done is use an app. But they relate that emotional connection with my practice, that we've shown them something we're going to help them create. I think that will nearly do, other than something called Instagram. Okay, guys? So this is where it lies. That's, if this kind of photography is word of mouth on steroids, then Instagram's the next level. But it's the same game. You're just making your patients famous. You're just putting stuff up that they are proud that you carried out for them, and that they then going to show their friends. That's the point. So when you ask consent to put their photos up and tag them in, 17 of their friends will have a look at that and know that you're where they should get it done. So that's the trick to Instagram. It isn't you baking cakes. It isn't you hugging your staff. I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that, guys, but it's more than cakes and hugs. So it's about making sure that you put your patients front and center, because they're delighted that you've done that, and then their friends will see that. All right. And on that, I will open up for Q&A and put my little contact details up as well, as is my norm.
All right, can I start asking questions while you're doing that, Marcus?
You can.
Bradley asks, do you always use Optrogate retractors for your scans?
Not for my... Well, if I'm doing treatment, then yes. I've recently I've stopped doing it. I've learned how to not do it for my checkups and things, because there's another little cost. If I'm doing treatment and I'm there anyway, then I do. But no, there's a good, and I can send you a video, or there's probably one on my Instagram that shows how to do. I can do a scan in sort of 2 minutes without a retractor. But I do love the Optrogate retractor, as you might have noticed.
Thank you. Tristan is asking, can digital charting combined with photographs replace typical dental charting in the eyes of our regulators, excluding things such as radiographs and BPE?
No, it can't replace it. You're just doing some stuff early. And sometimes I'll still confirm it, but it's doing 80 to 90% of what you do. So nothing here is replacing. It's just carrying out everything you would do in the analog version of a process, sometimes earlier or more efficiently. So we're never ever, and you'll see here, sorry, he might feature soon, but I'm very keen on thinking about Your Honour in everything I do, okay? So we're all about compliance, and we're all about making processes more robust, not cheating the system.
Thank you. And also thank you to Noel for asking all the questions, answering all the questions about Smile Light. Really good. Saranjit is asking, which practice software integrates with the iPhone software?
So was that which dental software?
Which practice management software will integrate with the iPhone software?
None. I've not had this question for a little while, and I forgot of its popularity. So, but I always get it. Nothing connects. So the Itero is not going to connect with your dental software program, and neither is your iPhone. They are two separate databases, okay? And they are both clouded and protected and safe. Let's say not only is Apple the most expensive company on the planet, but it's also the most safe. And you can only get this data if you have either my face or my fingerprint, okay? Whereas if you want to get the photos off your office desktop, then you either steal it or you put in the password with a big P and a 1 at the end, because that's what everybody's is. So that's not as safe as you think it is. And going back to the actual different places for your data, 30 years ago, was it possible to put your study models inside your dental software? No, they're in a cupboard. So it's not that we're not used to data being in different places. It just hurts our brain a little bit at the outset. So it's perfectly fine to have patient data located in different places, as long as you know where to access it and it is safe.
All right, thank you very much. What was the application called that filled the gaps? That was great.
Yeah, it was great. That one is called Pixelmator, I think. Yeah, Pixelmator.
Okie dokie. And Noel Perkins, thank you again. You should be working as a sales rep there for Smile. You're doing a great job. Brilliant one. Thank you very much indeed. Great. Any final questions? I know we're coming up on the top of the hour. Any final questions? And Marcus, just give us a heads up on what you'll be covering next week, please.
So we're going to take it a little bit into treatment planning and a bit about the conversations. So today was about showing you the concepts really and how digital can completely change the way you consider communicating to your patient. We're going to go next time into some of the some of the ways you communicate costs and next steps. Okay, so I'm going to break it down a little bit. Is what I'm going to do, if that's okay with everyone.
All right, thank you very much. We are coming up on the top of the hour, 5 minutes to go. Have you got any more to show us other than that slide, Marcus?
No, I think that's probably a good place. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, so I'll let it all sink in and invite anybody to get in contact if they have any other questions or want any expansion on what we've done today. And any of the questions I get, I'll obviously crowbar into next week's content as well.
Good man. Ashwin is asking, which app did the digital smile design before and after shots, please?
That's called Smile View. So it's an Invisalign app, and if you work with Invisalign, they'll give you access for free. And you can, if you Google Smile View now and you're an Invisalign customer, then it'll give you some simple steps on how to generate it. And it is, in my opinion, still the best, most realistic, and as such, the best images that patients can resonate with. So I have a lot of patients that see them as say, it's the trigger for them. And also they say things like, can I borrow that app for all my old photos and things like that. So, and it was designed as an app for the patient to use as a selfie on themselves, but we use it in surgery because, like I say, then it's like we've done the thing for the patient. So it connects that image with us.
Great stuff. Right, can I have the screen back?
Of course you can, mate. Yeah.